It is January 27th, 2021, lesson 88 in A Course in Miracles student workbook. Reviews for 75 and 76. The light has come. I'm choosing salvation rather than attack. I merely choose to recognize what is already there. Salvation is a decision already made. Attack and grievances are not there to choose. That is why I always choose between truth and illusion, between what is there and what is not. The light has come. I can but choose light, for it has no alternative. It has replaced the darkness, and the darkness has gone. Mantra for today is, this cannot show me darkness, for the light has come. The light in you is all that I would see. You say a name, right? I would see this only, in this only what is there. Okay, 76. I am under no laws but God's. Okay, here is a perfect statement of my freedom. I am under no laws but God's. I am constantly tempted to make up other laws and give them power over me. I suffer only because of my belief in them. They have no real effect on me at all. I am perfectly free of all the effects of all laws, save God's, and His are the laws of freedom. And then the mantra goes, my perception of this shows me I believe in laws that do not exist. I see only the laws of God at work in this. Let me allow God's laws to work in this and not my own. Okay, so last couple of days I've been going through the process of transmutation of emotion. Okay, you take whatever desire or anger and turn it into passion, or pride and turn it into self-love, and you make it into a positive. You're making negatives into positives. And now we're getting to the point that we're choosing to be the light. Okay, we're choosing to see light in things, and also understanding that the light has come. Okay, the light has chosen us to reflect what is out in the world. So when we look at the looking glass, right, we are looking at how we see ourselves in the world, how we see ourselves with our loved ones and others that are close to us, and how we see ourselves. And most oftentimes, because we have created this invented sense of self, or we have adopted these ideologies from the world, we are looking at the wrong mirrors, if that makes sense, okay? And when you start to realize in your suffering that this mirror is not what you are, you're holding on to broken pieces, right? You're trying to hold on as much as you can, and this is the concept of letting go. And as you bleed on to others, right? So that suffering is going to be your karmic propensity as you are living that over and over again. Now, when you are choosing to see the light, right, you are choosing to see the light that's in with you, okay? Because as you see the world, so are you. And you want to see, you want to observe, you want to let the world be reflected through you, if that makes sense, right? You are looking at the mirror within you rather than mirrors that are outside, because all those mirrors are illusions, if that makes sense, right? It's almost like magic. Now, when we choose to be the lights and we understand that the light has come, it's basically that what we've been waiting for is already here, right? So there is no waiting anymore. Like, you have been chosen to wake up and choose to be the reflection, right? Instead of being at the cause and effect of the environment, how you can influence your environment can influence you. You're now causing an effect, right? And this takes time, right? You're gonna learn a lot about yourself and test things, and you're gonna go through all this developmental stages, right? And it's very important that you are patient, because everybody's path is different, and how you're going to manifest this new part of yourself is going to be very important. So yesterday I did this video, and it was horrible because you can hear the mic and it's just like scratching. But nonetheless, what was very important about that was that we were looking at having a clear path and goal, okay? And because we have a goal, we have positive emotions, and then we are sacrificing everything for that goal, which means that we're changing our paradigms, okay? We remove all obstacles, and then we embed that by working as we practice what we preach, if that makes sense, right? And basically, as you're aiming for the highest goal that you can manage, you're getting into flow, right? Flow is the ability of your skills and challenge meeting, which is also the same thing as potentiality and reality meeting. Because now, as you're putting yourself in these certain circumstances, the things that make you scared, right? The bigger the challenge, the more of you is going to be activated, because the biological propensity that you have are creating gene codes for new proteins, right? Kind of like how you're working out, you're building up more muscle, but not only that, but it's actually, it is enforcing, right? It is becoming strong within your own nervous system. So as you work out, your anxiety drops, right? Because you're filling yourself with dopamine and serotonin and healthy foods, blah, 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 and stuff like that. So the more that you start to see that your potential is accessed by these situational stresses, then you can see how much is locked within you, right? As you're going through the darkest and most brutal parts that will open you up maximally, if that makes sense. Okay, so when you are looking at this, right, you are being turned on, right, by this tension, and that is the mere consequence of all your ancestors, because what is going on is that all that wisdom that has been translated or, you know, passed on by generation to generation, you are now accessing that, right? You are the potential composite of all the ancestral wisdom that is locked inside you, right, biologically. So now you're starting to see what your true potential actually is. So when you see that you can go through the most negative viewpoints, right, and see the most positive possible consequence, then you can see that you can go through the worst and prevail, okay? So again, that's what Jesus did. He was showing that he can go through hell and rise in 3 days. Same metaphor in terms of your emotions, right? You can fail in life, and that's perfectly fine. You only fall when you don't get up. So today happened to be a day that one of my family members passed away. So it's very sad. And what a friend, a really dear friend of mine actually sent me was that emotional pain usually lasts about 10 to 20 minutes. Anything else other than further than that is self-inflicted and only causing more damage or more of the cycle or pattern that is. And the reason why she didn't even know what was going on until afterwards, but she sent that to me because I ruminate so much, right? You ruin yourself to ruins as humans, okay? And that is because we are addicted to our negative experiences, right? It gives us meaning to feel like this, and we become the victim and a whole bunch of stuff that isn't really healthy for you. And I'm letting you know because I did that so many times, even as you're maybe tripping, doesn't matter how smart you are, or rolling, or anything that has to do with these ceremonies and entheogens. Like, it doesn't matter how smart you are, you can only go as far as you are accessed and allowed to. Okay, that's it. Like, don't try to reach, because life will continue to teach you until you learn, okay, I have to do this the right way. Okay? Now, of course, you will have moments where these ceremonies will come to you, but the idea is that they only come to you when you're ready. And that's how you respect the law of God. It only comes to you when you're ready. Anything outside of that is seeking, and that means you don't have, and that means you want and you won't have. Right? So that is the ego, and it's never going to satiate. So what was going on in my head specifically was a couple of quotes that I had from David Tatum. And it's about fear, right? Because what reminded me of today was that, you know, like, we're all mortal, right? And your parents are going to die, and that is one of the biggest fears that I have, right? Like, my life I'll give it away, man. Like, I'll give it away like you've never seen it before. But my parents' lives, that and my sister and the people that I just hold so dear, you know, I try to be a strong person, right? I try to be the change that I want to see in the world. So, you know, they say that a man that knows his fear is more trustable than someone that's not. So it's very important that I always am honest and vulnerable, no matter how many times I may fail in this whole journey, whatever you want to call it. So nonetheless, I'll read it, right? Only by staying intimate with your personal suffering can you feel through it to its source, okay? And again, we're trying to reach our healthy core, so we have to feel through it, right? We have to allow it to come up. We have to welcome it. And by leaning beyond your fear, you challenge your limits compassionately without trying to escape the feeling of fear itself, with an open heart, okay? And you have to be in the space of unknowingness, raw and awake, right? Because that's basically what our caveman ancestors used to do, right? They would take cold showers in the rivers and the waterfalls, and they would have to be raw, they would have to be awake, they have to be present, because that is what was the critical and pivotal point and essence of survival. And then closing down in the midst of pain is a denial of a man's true nature. Okay, so when you're closing up and you're not being present with your emotions, being able to witness and experience them fully, then you're denying yourself of your true nature. And he says a superior man is free in feeling and in action, and even admits great pain and hurt. If necessary, a man should live with a hurting heart rather than closed, should learn to stay in the wound of pain and act with spontaneous skill and love even from that place. So, just like we were speaking about, right? Walking through the valley of the shadow of death, right? As a defeated person, right? You're going to have loss. You're going to lose everything. You're looking at Job, right? From my mother's womb I come from, to my mother's womb I shall return, right? And Job was a story in the Bible that I relate to so much. And basically, he was stripped from everything that he held true in love, and he even denied God. And it was until he surrendered to the will of God that he was given everything tenfold. And that's basically what life is always trying to teach you, right? To let go of these attachments so you can actually access this beautiful part of yourself, to actually be with these loved ones and these experiences and this true love that you have, because everything else is just imprinted copies of copies of copies and copies, and you're not really seeing people for who they are, right? You're imposing like, oh, this is my father, I love him, until you actually lose him, and then you have no idea what happened all these years and how you didn't relate to him and you didn't try to talk to him, or so much, right? So taking that in consideration, now you're moving through life vulnerable, and people are going to trust you. And again, as you see the world, so are you. So now you're going to attract people that are just as vulnerable and trustworthy as well. It's not always going to be readily at your feet, but again, as you are now not thinking and feeling, you're accessing your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is always going to attract things like a magnet that you are actually seeking. And that's why you must always think what you want rather than not what you want, because your mind works as like a photocopy printer, right? Whatever you put on there, that's what it's going to attract. So like a heat-seeking missile puts what you want, and that's what you'll get, and that's all you'll get. So remember, always try to put in love in every single moment that you have, because that's all you'll get. Anything other than that, it's not God, man. So God bless. Love you guys. Hope everything's well. Peace.